Hi, and welcome to TouchPoints TV. I'm Debbie House, Editor-in-Chief of Retail TouchPoints, and I'm here today with Jill Campbell, who's a Solution Strategist for Oracle Retail. Welcome to you, Jill.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today.
Great to be here.
So I think before we begin our conversation, I thought maybe you could fill our audience in a little bit on your background and what you do with Oracle.
Sure. So I'm a Solution Strategist with Oracle, and I've been with them since they acquired ATG a little over 2 years ago. And I used to be an ATG customer way back when I worked with BestBuy.com. So I ran B2C and B2B shops for nearly 15 years, and then I decided to join ATG and then came over to Oracle via that acquisition. So in my role, I work with retailers worldwide to help them understand the value of an investment in our product, and then once they become a customer, how can I maximize my investment in the product?
So you have a lot of great background as a customer before going into solution provider.
Yeah.
So terrific. So just so everyone knows, this is part of a three-part series that we're doing with Oracle, and this particular episode is covering the concept of commerce anywhere. So I'm going to just jump right into the questions.
Sure.
At first, before we get into too much detail, can you just describe the high-level concept behind commerce anywhere?
Sure. So Commerce Anywhere is really being able to give a seamless cross-channel experience to your customer base. So regardless of where they interact with you, whether it's they call a call center, they're in your store, they're online, they're connecting via a tablet device or a smartphone, you want to be able to deliver a consistent experience across all of those touch points.
Okay. And why is it particularly vital for retailers today to make sure that they're coordinating their data across all channels?
Well, data lives in a lot of different places, and the most critical data is that on your customers. So you may have order management systems, several order management systems with order data, their past purchase history. You may have a loyalty system or not. You may have marketing databases. There's a lot of disparate customer data, and so the challenge is, how can I have a single view of the customer so that I can serve them to the best of my ability, but also then serve them up more relevant information and have more targeted merchandising and marketing strategies.
So are there specifically certain technologies or solutions that retailers should consider when they're thinking about reaching that goal?
Sure. Well, Oracle Commerce, the ATG platform, is a great framework to aggregate all of that disparate data, bring it together, and enable the business through a single user interface to be able to write rules so that they can target specific segments and do that very cost effectively and efficiently.
So I thought maybe you could share a couple of real-world examples of retailers who are doing some of this successfully. I know there aren't a whole lot of retailers who are doing it across the board 100%, but I think you can share a few examples of retailers who are on their way.
Sure, sure. Well, the first thing you have to think about is, who is my target demographic and how do they like to interact with my brand, and how can that influence revenue? So in the case of Urban Outfitter, they have a younger demographic that is very socially active. So therefore, as a business team, they invest heavily in how can I pull together blogging and social influences into the shopping experience, whether it's through a mobile device or on the web. And so they're really doing a great job at that.
Okay, and I know that I know you've been involved with Best Buy from way back, so I know Best Buy is a pretty good example of.
Sure. Yeah, I was with Best Buy from 2000 to almost 2004. So during that time period, we launched a homegrown solution and grew that business significantly within 2 years, and then we replatformed on the ATG platform so that we could be more efficient as an organization. They were talking about customer centricity way back then, so the concept of having a unified view of the customer was important, and they were on that back then. Now is really when that's come to the forefront for a lot of retailers worldwide. You can't afford to be operating in silos anymore. You really have to have a unified team so that you can offer a unified experience.
Okay, and I know that National Geographic certainly isn't a typical, traditional retailer per se, but I know that they're doing some interesting things as well, right?
Yeah. So instead of playing Angry Bird, you can go and you can watch some really cool videos on National Geographic. Their mobile device that was ranked in the top 20 last year, and they're an Oracle Commerce customer as well.
So what can retailers, more traditional retailers, learn from the kinds of successes National Geographic has had?
Well, it's really being able to recognize who your customer is when they choose to interact with you and understand what their lifetime value is. Customers who traditionally interact with you in more than one channel are more valuable to you as a brand. And so how can you differentiate your service and make them have you top of mind and want to transact with you versus the other guy? So it's really looking at your technology, looking at your governance models, looking at your business processes, and really re-engineering everything from the perspective of the customer, because they do not look at you as channels, they look at you as a single brand. And so there's a lot of complexity, a lot of data points that need to be taken into consideration. Predominantly, what are the business needs, what are the customer needs, what are the competitive threats, what are my analytics telling me, and what are the industry trends. So when you analyze those 5 areas, then you can come up with a very strategic roadmap to understand how can I migrate towards being able to service my customers seamlessly across all of the touch points.
And you have to give National Geographic a lot of credit, starting out as a traditional magazine, and so they've really come a long way in becoming an omni-channel presence.
Yeah,
so that's
definitely.
impressive. Disney, I think, is just one other customer that we should
Disney
talk about.
has a really great experience that unifies the website with the mobile device and then a tablet device, and they are able to personalize across all of those touch points. So if I'm shopping for a little boy or I'm shopping for a little girl, I put something in my cart on the website, and then I'm on the go and I have my mobile device. We can unify carts. There's a lot of flexibility as to how you can serve the customer, so that you just make it easier for them to do business with you. Nike is another great customer. They're using our solution for not only B2C but also B2B solutions. And personalization, when you're able to serve up more relevant content and products. So content is a very broad term. It's not just products. It's also user-generated content, articles, FAQs. And you have to think of that whole post-purchase experience, self-help. Just make it easy for people to do business with you, and when you do that, they're going to come back and they're going to continue to be loyal.
Right, absolutely. So just finally, what would you say are some of the pitfalls of not, pursuing these cross-channel activities, such as some of the customers that you talked about?
Sure. Well, emerging technology and connected consumers, the younger demographic that are very, very connected, they are forcing retailers to take a hard look at how can I continue to have that customer base. So yes, I have to be able to serve my traditional customer base, but I have these young connected consumers that I also have to be able to serve. And so I can't afford to be operating in silos, just have a store experience, a web experience. You're going to lose market share, because there are companies out there who get it, who understand, and if you don't make it easy for them to transact with you, they're going to take their business elsewhere. So losing market share, I think, is very critical. Next is lost revenue. Okay, so if I don't like my experience, if you can't even deliver on the basic, if you say I'm going to get my product in 3 to 5 days and it's 2 weeks later and I still haven't received it, that's not a good experience, and it's going to cost you more marketing dollars to retain that customer. So you want to be able to just deliver on your promises and do that seamlessly. Sprint is a customer of ours, so it's not just retailers who can capitalize on an investment in Oracle Commerce, but also a lot of large telcos. The majority of telcos worldwide use the technology because that's a very complex business model, and there's a lot of data and a lot of different systems. So pulling that all together, device, plan type, etc., and being able to service the customer, Sprint was able to do that, implementing our solution and taking content and taking the transactional experience, blending them together into a unified experience, and that, I think they increased revenue like 10% within 6 months of implementing the technology, which is very impressive.
Yeah, so a lot of the community out there can learn from not just their retail peers, but different types of companies like National Geographic and Sprint as well.
Yes, and with the proliferation of social, if you have a bad experience, it's real easy to tell your friends about it. So there's a higher risk for retailers.
All right, well, thanks so much for sharing your insights and your examples with us today.
You're welcome.
And thanks to all of you
pleasure.
for joining us on TouchPoints TV. Have a great day.